Chapter 555. Yuan Jin, is this how your Yuan family does things? You are indeed unscrupulous. But today, I will not let you get what you want. The Jin Yuan communication was not something that could be read just by looking at the mouth. Yi Chen had a super powerful soul power, so after analyzing it, he was able to understand what Yuan Jin had said to Murong Qingcheng. He was shocked and angered at the same time. He could not believe that this Yuan Jin would do something like this. Poisoning a member of the demi-demon family. Was he not afraid of causing an internal conflict within the demi-demon family? Damn it! Do you know what I am talking about? Yuan Jin looked at Murong Qingcheng with hatred. He thought that it was Murong Qingcheng who had told Yi Chen about it. Murong Qingcheng was shocked. Her mind was in a mess, and she could not think of telling anyone. Plus, it was about her mother's life after all. Murong Jishui could tell that something was not right, so he asked Yi Chen, what happened? Su Ruhui looked over as well. Yi Chen thought about it and decided to tell the truth. Since it was poison, there must be a way to cure it. He could just ask the Dragon King for help. With his top king level power, this shadowless poison should not be a problem for him. With a dark look on his face, he said, Auntie was poisoned by the Yuan family to threaten Murong Qingcheng. Hearing him, Murong Jishui was so angry that he almost puked out blood. He threw out a palm attack toward Yuan Jin. Old man, you dare to poison Ruhui? Today, it will be either you or me. Boom! Qi flow exploded as Yuan Jin blocked out Murong Jishui's attack. How dare you? Take him down. How dare you? Seeing Murong Jishui attacking their headmaster, all of the powerful warriors of the Yuan family had flames burning in their eyes. They felt that it was not something that could be tolerated, so they wanted to make a move. Stop! Su Ruhui yelled out. Waiting until both of them had calmed down a bit, Su Ruhui said with a cold face, Yuan Jin, I am also a member of the demi-demon family. You poisoning me, do you think it is too much? Also, do not forget that I am a member of the Su family. Although we are not as powerful as your Yuan family, we will not let anyone bully us. Yuan Jin hated Yi Chen to the bone. This poisoning thing could not be brought out in the open. It was exactly because he thought that Murong Qingcheng would not tell the truth that he had used it as a threat. Taking a deep breath, Yuan Jin said slowly, I did not want to do this, but you are forcing me. If you agree to this marriage, I will hand over the antidote right away. As for the Su family, it seems like you have already been kicked out of your family. I believe they would not go against our Yuan family just because of you. You're despicable. No matter how well-mannered Su Ruhui was, she was still infuriated. Those who want to achieve great things don't bother with trifles. Moreover, their union is the most perfect thing for the demi-demon clan. You guys are so stubborn that you are the scourge of the demi-demon clan. Yuan Jin's voice was cold. Third brother, let's fight with them. Murong Wu and the 10 powerful warriors from the Murong family had just woken up from their stupor, standing behind the few of them quietly. Murong Jishui suppressed the anger that was burning like a volcano inside him as he said with a low voice, Yuan Jin, hand over the antidote, and there will still be a chance for us to turn this around. Otherwise, I will not stop until you die. Either you die, or I die. Yuan Jin did not answer Murong Jishui. He turned his head to look at Murong Qingcheng, little girl, your mother's life is in your hands. I will ask you one more time. Do you agree or not? If you do not agree, then this only antidote will be gone forever. As he spoke, he took out a white medicine bottle. His palm was shining with a purple gold light. As long as he pushed out his Jin Yuan, this bottle would be destroyed into nothingness. Su Ruhui said angrily, Qingcheng, do not agree. Even if you agree, I will not be happy for the rest of my life. Plus, according to what I know, the shadowless poison is not incurable. It's just that the ingredients are hard to find. Sacrificing her daughter's happiness for her own life was something that she could not do. Murong Jishui had a complicated look on his face. He thought about it, but did not say anything. Father, mother. Murong Qingqing wanted to say something, but stopped. She seemed to be struggling. Murong Jishui sighed, "Listen to your mother. Do not agree. I do not believe that there is no antidote for this shadowless poison." Then, he yelled at Yuan Jin, "There are so many people here looking at you. Do you think you still have the face? You are the scourge of the demi-demon family. Damn it." Yuan Jin's face twisted a little. Indeed, what he had done would make him a laughingstock for everyone in the Gulan region. But, since he had already made it this far, there was no turning back. As long as he handed over the antidote, his reputation would be restored. What a joke. He might as well go all the way, and see who would be the one laughing in the end. The rumors would eventually disappear. "Little girl, do you agree or not?" Crack. The white medicine bottle in Yuan Jin's hand started to crack, seeming like it would shatter at any second. "Do not agree." Su Ruhui stared at Yuan Jin angrily. Tightening the gold sword in his hand, Yi Chen's expression was getting colder and colder. He could not say anything to make Murong Qingqing say no, since it was related to his mother's life. Of course, no matter how it would end up, Yuan Jin and his son had already been listed as his targets. "Sorry, I will not say yes." Murong Qingqing bit on her pearly white teeth as she said this. "Good. Good. Good." Yuan Jin said the word "good" 3 times in a row, and then the white bottle in his hand shattered with a bang, completely turning into nothingness. Yuan Jin. Murong Jishui's eyes were bloodshot. "Jishui." Su Ruhui grabbed onto Murong Jishui. "In the Yuan family, you will not be able to win against them. Anyway, this shadowless poison is not without an antidote. We can think of something when we get back. It would be better than losing our lives here or being locked up." Who? Murong Jishui took a couple of deep breaths. His wife was right. It would not be wise to fight with them here, and it would also give the Yuan family an excuse to attack them. Therefore, no matter how angry he was, he would have to hold it in. He would take it out later. "Let's go." Murong Jishui stared at Yuan Jin and said to his people. "Go. Where do you think you are going?" "Murong Jishui, you have offended our Yuan family time and time again. Right now, as the headmaster of our Yuan family, I am going to capture you. Little brat Yi, this is our demi-demon family's business. If you dare to make a move, I will not go easy on you. Come. Surround them." The Yuan family had lost a lot of face. Yuan Jin did not even say anything before asking them to leave. It was like a double loss for them. "How dare you!" Su Ruhui and Murong Jishui yelled at the same time. "Why not? Everyone, listen up. Capture Murong Jishui for me. If anyone else dares to move, kill them." With Yuan Jin's order, the powerful warriors of the Yuan family appeared from all directions, surrounding Murong Jishui and his people. "Qin." Taking out his gold sword, Yi Chen said, "Sorry, but today, you are so stubborn. I will have to fight with your Yuan family." Wang Shi and Yan Kuei stood up. "Junior brother Yi, will accompany you. Yuan Jin, you've shown off enough today. Let's see how you explain to our Dragon God Celestial Palace in the future. I'll report everything that happened today in full detail. You have gone too far. Do it." Yuan Jin's 3 corpses were infuriated. He waved his palm. Boom! 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 The whole plaza was in chaos. Dozens of Yuan family warriors attacked the dozens of people on Yi Chen's side. As for the other guests, they had already backed out of the area, watching this scene with interest. Yuan Jin and a master-level Sea of Souls realm warrior had joined hands to attack Murong Jishui. Judging on power, Yuan Jin was not weaker than Murong Jishui, and was actually slightly more powerful. Together with the other master-level Sea of Souls realm warrior, they would be able to take down Murong Jishui easily. As for the rest of the people, they would not be an opponent for the Yuan family at all. Meanwhile, Yan Shiner was facing Su Ruhui, and they did not see eye to eye with each other. Right then, the Yuan family and the Murong family had turned against each other, so naturally, they were treating each other as enemies. Dang! After blowing away a powerful warrior from the Yuan family with one sword attack, Yi Chen realized that it was not going to be good. If this continued, all the warriors from the Murong family would be killed sooner or later. No choice. I guess I will have to use my Thunder Disaster Sword then. Unless it was absolutely necessary, Yi Chen would not reveal his semi-extreme rank great sword in front of everyone. Right then, he could not care about that anymore. Putting the gold sword back into its scabbard, Yi Chen took out his Thunder Disaster Sword and poured his Jin Yuan into it. The sword body turned into a beam of lightning, stretching and shrinking. Shoo! With one sword attack, a Yuan family warrior's arm fell off as he backed out while screaming. Kill! With the Thunder Disaster Sword in his hand, Yi Chen's battling power increased drastically. He killed his way in and out of the Yuan family warriors, and not a single one of them could stop him. Soon, there were already 4 warriors who had been wounded badly by his sword. It is a semi-extreme rank great sword. Outside of the stage, someone could tell the rank of the sword. It is indeed a semi-extreme rank great sword. This power is so horrifying. Falling into his hands is indeed a waste. I am a master-level Sea of Souls realm warrior. If I have a semi-extreme rank great sword in my hand, who would be my opponent below the king warriors? I would be able to go anywhere in the world. A lot of people started to get greedy. Although they did not dare to kill Yi Chen, they would still dare to steal the sword secretly, since it was too important for them. Gold Resonant Radiant Sword. Facing the area with the most warriors of the Yuan family, Yi Chen threw out a sword attack, performing his most powerful sword movement, the Gold Resonant Radiant Sword. That thick sword light was like a scythe that was harvesting lives. A row of Yuan family warriors fell down, and no one knew if they were still alive or dead. Those who were closer had also been wounded by the sword light, puking out blood continuously. Fight your way out. Cutting out a gap, Yi Chen yelled to everyone. Bastard! Where did that brat get that semi-extreme rank great sword? In the air, Yuan Jin had sensed the weird situation down there, so he could not help but look down. What he saw made him furious. Dozens of Sea of Souls realm warriors from the Yuan family had been knocked out, and some of the remaining ones were wounded as well. Their battling power had been greatly reduced. On the other side, only 3 to 5 warriors from the Murong family had been wounded, and none of them had been knocked out. Murong Jishui had also seen the scene down there, and he let out a breath of relief. Normally, only Sea of Souls realm warriors would be able to join in the battle. Therefore, no matter how many warriors there were in the Yuan family, most of them would not be able to make a difference. Once one reached the life and death realm, one warrior's power would be able to fight against a super martial school or family. Chapter 556. Murong Jishui, don't even think about it anymore. Today, you will not be able to get out of the Yuan family alive. Yuan Jin kept his composure. He knew that as long as he waited for a while, the other Sea of Souls realm warriors of the Yuan family would arrive, and his main goal was to take down Murong Jishui. Murong Jishui sneered, with the two of you teaming up, I indeed would not be able to win. But, if you want to take me down, it would be impossible. He and Yuan Jin were more or less the same. Adding on a normal Sea of Souls realm master-level warrior, they might be able to make him suffer a bit. But, if he wanted to leave, they would not be able to stop him either. Ha! Do you really think so? Yuan Jin's speed was like lightning as he continued to attack while the master-level Sea of Souls realm warrior who was teaming up with him helped out on the side. Down below, the plaza of the Yuan family was full of holes, and most of the buildings around had been destroyed as well. From time to time, there would be warriors of the Yuan family flying over from a certain direction and joining the battle. Therefore, the number of warriors attacking the Yuan family was always around 30. This brat is powerful. Let the 5 of us work together to hold him off. With the Thunder Disaster Sword in his hand, Yi Chen was extremely powerful. Wherever he went, there would be blood rain and thunder light. Whenever the sword light flashed once, there would be people falling down with their hands covering their wounds. No one could stop him. Seeing that the warriors of the Yuan family would be heavily injured, the 5 top spirit warriors went up to fight against Yi Chen. They were the masters of the Yuan family, and their ranks were not low. Speed Sword Hell. If it were the gold sword performing the Speed Sword Hell, each sword shadow's power would only be equivalent to a normal Soul Realm warrior's full power attack. But it was performed by the Thunder Disaster Sword, which increased the power to that of a spirit warrior's full power attack. Countless sword shadows spread out, looking like a blue ocean of light attacking out. And Yi Chen was the source of that blue light ocean, the starting point of the attack. Ah! How could he perform this many sword shadows at the same time? Each of them is equivalent to a normal spirit warrior's full power attack. He might be able to block out 10 of them, but he might not be able to block out 20 or even 30. The 5 of them came with an aggressive aura, but they were leaving in a bad shape. Even the Yuan family warriors around them had been wounded by the sharp sword shadows. Brat, you dare! Another peak expert of Yuan clan rushed over from afar. This person was the 3rd-ranked elder of Yuan clan, named Yuan Lai. His weapon was a huge blade. The blade's body was as red as fire, and as soon as he slashed out, a fiery blade energy swept out in all directions. Kill! Yi Chen unsheathed the gold sword with his left hand and performed a cross slash with the Thunder Disaster Sword. The 2 sword lights, one straight and one reverse, seemed like a pair of executioner's hands as they went against the flaming blade energy. Not only did they split the blade energy apart, they even carried a lot of it to attack Yuan Lai. Damn it, when did this brat become a guru? No, that sword. Yuan Lai had seen Yi Chen's portrait before, so he could recognize him at a glance. In his impression, Yi Chen was still far from the master level, so it was impossible for him to be his opponent. At this moment, seeing the opponent's counterattack was so sharp that even part of his flame blade energy was swept back, he was shocked. After the initial shock, he immediately realized that it was the Thunder Disaster Sword that was causing trouble, and not Yi Chen's own strength. Bang! Yuan Lai was, after all, a Sea of Soul master, so it was impossible for him to be defeated in one strike. Holding the blade with both hands, he raised it horizontally like a reef on the shore, enduring the waves all year round, unmoving and steady like Mount Tai. The moment the sword light and flame blade energy arrived, they were deflected without the slightest injury. The semi-supreme grade sword is a waste in your hands. I'll take care of it for you. Let go. With a shake of his body, Yuan Lai's aura changed from that of a reef to that of a volcano. His body contained an extremely frightening flame power. Holding the blade with both hands, he slashed 18 times toward Yi Chen. Each slash was extremely powerful, and the scorching blade wind melted the potholed ground into crystals. Sword Light Flight Art. A sword light flickered outside Yi Chen's body, and he instantly arrived in the sky. The gold sword had long since returned to its scabbard. The Thunder Disaster Sword in his hand was like a wriggling lightning as it slashed toward Yuan Lai below. The sword light sliced through the space, creating ripples like water. What a fast speed! Yuan Lai had just returned to Yuan clan, so he didn't know that Yi Chen still had this ace up his sleeve. His blade energy missed, but his figure flickered as well. With a speed as explosive as fire, he dodged Yi Chen's strongest sword strike. And the movement technique contains the profound of fire. Yi Chen's brows creased. Among the major attributes, thunder and wind held the advantage in terms of speed. However, this was only under normal circumstances. Powerful experts could dig out other attributes that could aid in speed. For example, fire was the fastest when it burst out. Of course, it couldn't last as long as thunder and wind, so it could only burst out for a short period of time. Kid Yi, I'm the 3rd elder of Yuan clan. Do you think you can defeat me? Yuan Lai appeared behind Yi Chen. He stretched out his left hand, and a scarlet whirlpool shot out. The whirlpool contained a powerful suction force, pulling the air like blades as it tried to pull Yi Chen over. Yi Chen knew that although Yuan Lai wasn't as powerful as Yuan Jin, he was still a powerful Sea of Soul Master level expert. Ordinary Master level experts couldn't compare to him. Wanting to defeat him in a short period of time was indeed impossible. However, at this moment, there was no way out. Even if he couldn't fight, he had to. Gold Resonant Radiance. The intense battle intent caused Yi Chen's aura to become as sharp as a sword. At this critical moment, he had comprehended the Gold Resonant Radiance to greater completion. 90% completion and greater completion seemed to only be 10% difference, but the effect was completely different. 90% completion meant that there were still flaws, while greater completion meant complete perfection. Be it sword aura or sword energy, they couldn't be mentioned in the same breath. Chop! The Thunder Disaster Sword was dyed with a layer of gold as Yi Chen's sword slashed across the sky. Puff! The Scarlet Whirlpool was split into two, and the dazzling golden sawtooth sword light carried an unstoppable sword aura as it shot toward Yuan Lai. What? Breakthrough in battle! Yuan Lai was stunned. It was rumored that there were some geniuses who were good at fighting. The more they fought, the stronger they would become. They would often be able to break through their bottlenecks under extreme pressure and advance a step further. Against such geniuses, a slight advantage wasn't considered an advantage, because the opponent could instantly turn this advantage into nothing. The opponent's advantage would only make him stronger, it would be his stepping stone. Bastard! You dare to use me as a stepping stone? Yuan Lai was enraged. He slashed out with a fiery aura and a fiery blade aura. His entire body seemed like a flaming blade, imposing and tyrannical. Rumble! The sword light and blade energy collided, and the ground within several li surged like waves in the sea. Soon after, beams of sword light and blade energy soared into the sky, turning the area into a blade and sword hell. Be it Yuan clan's experts or Murong clan's experts, they all stopped. They discovered that this sword light and blade energy had a killing power that could pierce through their protective Jin Yuan. As for the area several li away, it seemed to be separated by an invisible chi wall. As soon as the surging ground reached there, it was pushed back. It was the Yuan clan's demonic human king, protecting the clan's buildings from being damaged. Only the plaza and the surrounding area were left as the battleground. Of course, although the demonic human king of Yuan clan could instantly kill anyone here, it was precisely because he was a demonic human king that he could not make a move. He could not even enter the battlefield. Yi Chen was a genius favored by the Dragon King. If they made a move, the Dragon King might personally pay a visit to the Yuan clan in the future. It was fine if the Yuan clan bullied him with numbers, but even a demonic human king was making a move. It was clear that the Yuan clan did not put him in their eyes. Junior brother Yi is too ferocious. Almost all of the Murong clan's experts were injured, but Wang Shi and Yen Kuei were unscathed. After all, they were Dragon God's Celestial Palace's people, and the Yuan clan's experts wouldn't dare to do anything to them. At most, they could only hold them back and prevent them from supporting others. Su Ruhui nodded. He is indeed a dragon among men, a sword Dao genius. After saying these words, her brows creased. In the sky, Murong Jishui was being pushed back again and again. Under the joint attack of two Sea of Soul Realm Masters, it was already not easy for him to hold on until now. Murong Jishui, surrender. Otherwise, you'll be buried here today. Yuan Jin's fist shot out countless golden blades, slicing through the void. In your dreams. Murong Jishui resisted with all his might, pushing his strength to the limit. Rumble. On one side, Yi Chen was facing Yuan Lai, while on the other side, Yuan Jin and the Yuan clan's elders were facing Murong Jishui. The two battlefields were crisscrossing, and the space rippled like water. The others temporarily stopped and raised their heads to watch. All of you, stop! Right at this moment, a loud roar came from outside the Yuan clan. This roar was majestic and powerful, as if the voice had condensed into steel and was forcibly transmitted into everyone's ears. Those with slightly lower cultivation base paled and felt dizzy, while those with higher cultivation base revealed astonished expressions. Palace leader. Yao Feng suddenly raised his head and looked outside the Yuan clan's gate. Palace leader has arrived. Wang Shi and Yan Kuei were overjoyed. Although they were a bit surprised that the palace leader had arrived so quickly, it was still a good thing. Swish! 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 3 silhouettes dashed over and appeared on the square. The person in the lead was a burly man in his 50s. He wore a yellow robe that was embroidered with an angry dragon that was baring its fangs and brandishing its claws. Still not stopping. The yellow-robed middle-aged man waved his wide sleeves, slapping 2 palms toward the 2 battlefields in the sky. Ong! The ferocious palm energy brought with it a loud vibrating sound. Yi Chen and Yuan Lai only felt a powerful pressure, and they couldn't help but retreat. On the other side, Yuan Jin and Murong Jishui also stopped. Under this ferocious palm energy, they didn't feel any better. So powerful. Yi Chen's pupils shrank. The yellow-robed middle-aged man was clearly a Sea of Soul master. But, be it Yuan Jin or Yuan Lai, neither of them was half as strong as him. A mere palm attack from a distance was enough to separate them, and the aftershock of the palm energy caused his blood and qi to boil. Seeing the yellow-robed middle-aged man, Yuan Jin's complexion changed. He descended from the sky and cupped his fists. So, it's palace leader Zhang. This one is Yuan clan's great elder, Yuan Jin. What's going on? The yellow-robed middle-aged man was precisely Dragon God Celestial Palace's Yellow Dragon Palace's palace leader Zhang Jingguang. After receiving the message from Wang Shi and Yan Kuei, he had rushed through the night and arrived at Yuan clan. Before entering seclusion, palace leader had instructed him to nurture Yi Chen as the future palace leader. Of course, it might not necessarily be Yellow Dragon Palace leader. Chapter 557. The leader of the Murong family, Murong Jishui, has offended my Yuan family. In order to protect the dignity of my family, I am trying to capture him. Yuan Jin was quite apprehensive of Zhang Jingguang. Although the latter was not a famous Sea of Souls realm master-level warrior, he was still a top master-level warrior. The gap between them was not 1,000, but at least 800. Even 2 of them would not be his opponent. Most importantly, the latter was the leader of the Yellow Dragon Palace. Since he could not get along with Yi Chen, it could be said that Yi Chen was not a member of the Dragon God Celestial Palace. However, Zhang Jingguang was clearly a member of the Dragon God Celestial Palace. Moreover, he was one of the upper echelons, the leader of the Yellow Dragon Palace. Zhang Jingguang turned his head and looked at Yi Chen. Then what's the matter with Yi Chen exchanging blows with him? Don't your people know that Yi Chen is a genius favored by Palace Master? Or perhaps, you don't put my Palace Master in your eyes at all. That's why you're acting so unbridled and acting as you please. Zhang Jingguang was obviously biased toward Yi Chen, going straight to the point. Leader. Yao Feng was anxious. If Zhang Jingguang was biased toward Yi Chen, then he would not have a good ending. It was the opposite of his original plan. In fact, Zhang Jingguang's arrival was out of his expectation, catching him off guard. You shut up. Zhang Jingguang glared at Yao Feng. He had already learned the whole story from Wang Shi and Yan Kuei. Yao Feng's actions had made him very angry. Yi Chen was a martial genius valued by the palace master, but Yao Feng had treated him like this. It was simply too lawless, thinking too highly of himself. Yao Feng swallowed back the words he was about to say. He then vaguely glanced at Yi Chen, a trace of killing intent appearing in the depths of his pupils. Yuan Jin saw Zhang Jingguang's attitude toward Yao Feng, and his brows creased even more. Yi Chen's relationship with the Murong family is not shallow. Therefore, he tried to stop our Yuan family from capturing Murong Jishui. Yuan Lai went up to stall him, not to make things difficult for him. Yan Kuei sneered, Elder Yuan, your ability to lie through your teeth is indeed impressive. I won't mention the matter of Mo Luo's sneak attacking junior brother Yi, since you wouldn't admit it even if I told you. Afterward, I heard your clansman asking junior brother Yi to kneel down and apologize, and if he didn't, he wouldn't be allowed to leave. Then, your son and junior brother Yi had a fair competition, and because your son was injured, you attacked out of anger, saying that you would teach junior brother Yi a lesson for our dragon god's celestial palace. Oh, there is such a thing. Zhang Xinguang narrowed his eyes. Yuan Jin was quite angered by Yan Kuei, but he braced himself and said, "Today is, after all, my son's wedding day. Yi Chen and the Murong family's people came to cause trouble. Our Yuan family couldn't just sit back and do nothing. Therefore, some hot-blooded actions were unavoidable." Glancing at the two towers of Yuan family, Zhang Xinguang said, "All right, I don't care what happened during this period. I'm taking Yi Chen away now. Do you have any objections?" Of course not. Even if Yuan Jin hated Yi Chen to the bone, he wouldn't dare to say anything. He was very clear that if he went against Zhang Xinguang, his family would very likely abandon him. The family could support him in the dark, but they wouldn't allow him to do so openly. Yi Chen cupped his fists and said, "Greetings, Hall Leader Zhang." Zhang Xinguang faintly smiled and nodded, "Not bad. Although you're relying on a half-step extreme-grade sword, you can contend against a master-level expert of the Yuan family and even gain a slight advantage. This kind of strength is even above Li Shaoling. Thank you for your praise, Hall Leader Zhang." Yi Chen continued, "The Murong family is Yi Chen's friend. As friends, we should advance and retreat together." His meaning was that if he left, the Murong family's people would also have to leave. Hearing these words, Zhang Xinguang turned his head toward Yuan Jin and said, "In that case, I'll take the Murong family's people as well. Otherwise, I won't be able to take Yi Chen. This is not appropriate, right?" Yuan Jin's complexion turned gloomy. "What? You don't want to?" Zhang Xinguang's complexion also turned gloomy. "Murong Jishui has offended my Yuan family. If we let him leave like this, what dignity does my Yuan family have? Others can leave, but not him. I heard that you forced his daughter first. So what if he's hot-blooded? I'll be taking him away. You don't need to see me off." Zhang Xinguang's figure was tall and sturdy, and his words were even more domineering. Yuan Jin tightened his fists and said in a low voice, "Hall Leader Zhang, this is my demonic clan's matter. I ask you not to interfere." "So what if I interfere?" Yuan Jin's eyes turned sharp. "Hall Leader Zhang, respect is mutual. I ask you not to force me." Zhang Xinguang looked straight at Yuan Jin and suddenly burst into laughter. "Force you? What qualifications do you have for me to force you? If I force you, what are you going to do? Send out experts to kill me? It's not that I'm looking down on you or your Yuan family. I alone am enough to contend against all the experts of your Yuan family. If you don't believe me, you can try." It was unrealistic for one person to contend against all the Sea of Soul Realm experts of Yuan family. However, Zhang Xinguang still had confidence in the few experts present. Yuan Jin's complexion turned extremely unsightly. Blue veins popped out on his forehead. Humiliation, absolute humiliation. Yuan Jin had never suffered such humiliation before. "What do you think? I don't mind warming up a bit." Zhang Xinguang's expression was very relaxed. "Jiner, let them go." Just as Yuan Jin was feeling extremely humiliated, a voice entered his ears. It was a demonic human king of Yuan family. "Old ancestor has spoken." Yuan Jin was startled, but he immediately clenched his teeth and said, "As Hall Leader Zhang wishes." Hall Leader Zhang. Seeing that Zhang Xinguang was about to leave with Murong family's people, Murong Jishui was naturally happy. However, there was something that worried him even more. "What is it?" Zhang Xinguang looked at Murong Jishui. Yi Chen spoke in place of Murong Jishui. "Hall Leader Zhang, Yuan family has poisoned Uncle Murong's wife. Uncle Murong wants to ask if Yuan family has the antidote." "Poisoned?" Zhang Xinguang was somewhat astonished. He truly didn't expect Yuan family to do something like poisoning. Moreover, it was brought out in the open. This was truly a great loss of face. Hall leader Zhang, there is only one antidote, and it has already been destroyed by me. There is no second antidote. Yuan Jin coldly said. You really destroyed it? Murong Jishui had some hope in his heart. He hoped that Yuan Jin's destruction was fake. Of course it's destroyed. Yuan Jin was a bit pleased. Shadowless poison was one of the rare poisons under the heavens, and the ingredients to concoct it were extremely hard to find. Otherwise, Yuan family wouldn't only have one antidote. It should be known that this thing was even rarer than the 3 calamity bewitching powder. Since there is no antidote, let's go. Zhang Jingguang didn't want to know whether Yuan Jin had the antidote or not, because it made no difference. If the other party didn't want to hand it over, he wouldn't be able to do anything unless he was a life and death king. Only a king's request would the other party not dare to resist, unless they wanted to be exterminated. Jishui, let's go. Let's go back and think of something. Su Ruhui, on the other hand, was quite open-minded as she consoled Murong Jishui. Murong Jishui silently nodded. Waiting until Zhang Jingguang, Yi Chen, and the rest left, Yuan Jin sucked in a deep breath and suddenly slammed his palm on the potholed plaza. With a peng sound, a crack appeared on the plaza. Today, Yuan family could be said to have suffered a double loss. They had become the laughingstock of everyone present, and he, Yuan Jin, was even more of a laughingstock. In the main hall of Yellow Dragon Palace, Zhang Jingguang sat on the main seat while Yao Yifeng, Yi Chen, and the rest sat below. As for the Murong family's people, they were arranged to stay in other buildings. Yao Yifeng, do you know your crime? Zhang Jingguang coldly looked at Yao Yifeng below. Yao Yifeng still wanted to argue, leader, Yi Chen is causing trouble everywhere. Sooner or later, he will bring trouble to our Dragon God's Celestial Palace. Yao Yifeng is thinking for the sake of the Dragon God's Celestial Palace. Leader, please investigate this. Investigate? Investigate you? Leader, Yao Yifeng's heart was filled with fear and anger. It was all because of Yi Chen. It was all Yi Chen's fault. Without him, he wouldn't have to suffer. If he didn't have a good time, Yi Chen wouldn't have a good time either. Your matter, come back with me. Wang Shi, after Yao Yifeng leaves, you will temporarily take charge of the Yellow Dragon Palace. Yan Kuei, you will assist him. I will send a new deputy after a while. Zhang Jingguang didn't want to waste any more words with Yao Yifeng. What kind of person was Yi Chen? He was the future savior of the Dragon God's Celestial Palace. He was very clear about the palace's current situation, and it was truly urgent. They were waiting for a genius to fully mature, and Yi Chen was undoubtedly the most promising one among them. Yao Yifeng actually dared to target Yi Chen. If Yi Chen became hostile toward the palace because of this, even 100 Yao Yifengs wouldn't be enough. Fortunately, Wang Shi and Yan Kuei had informed him in time. Otherwise, it would truly be a big deal. What? Yao Yifeng didn't dare to believe his ears. He was going to be stripped of his deputy position. He was going to be replaced by a new deputy just because he had treated Yi Chen unfairly. Leader, although Yao Yifeng is guilty, it is not to this extent. Yao Yifeng may not have contributed much to the palace, but he has worked hard. I, Yao Yifeng, am not satisfied with this punishment. Yao Yifeng was somewhat hysterical. Zhang Jingguang coldly snorted, not satisfied. Come back with me, and you'll be satisfied. Yellow Dragon sealing great art. Abruptly standing up, Zhang Jingguang tossed out a yellow ball of light. The ball floated before his chest. He formed a seal with both hands, and with a rumble, the entire Yellow Dragon Palace branch trembled. Soon after, the shadow of a yellow dragon rushed out of the ball of light, appearing above Yao Yifeng and enveloping him within. Ah! Yao Yifeng wanted to escape from the yellow dragon's shadow, but in the next moment, dozens of light dots flickered on its body. The moment they appeared, the yellow dragon's shadow rapidly shrunk and entered Yao Yifeng's body. My Jin Yuan. And my physical strength? Yao Yifeng discovered that he was unable to use Jin Yuan. Even his meridians had been sealed, and his body was limp and powerless. It was as if there was a yellow dragon coiling inside his body, constantly devouring his Jin Yuan and blood qi. Without these two, he could only use his martial will. However, without the support of blood qi, his martial will would gradually weaken. It should be known that the soul and the body were connected. Chapter 558. You too, take him away and keep a close eye on him. Zhang Jingguang said to the two he brought. Yes. These two were also Taoist-level experts. Watching over Yaoifeng, who had lost his Jin Yuan, was a piece of cake. They immediately stepped forward and pulled him away. Before leaving, Yaoifeng shot a venomous glance at Yi Chen, as if he wanted to imprint the latter in his eyes. However, Yi Chen didn't feel anything and remained indifferent. Yi Chen, this is the first time we've met. You're much more outstanding than I imagined. Zhang Jingguang revealed a faint smile and said to Yi Chen. Yi Chen faintly smiled and casually asked, Hall Leader Zhang, I wonder how you'll punish him. A Sea of Soul Master should be very important to Dragon God's Celestial Palace, right? Sea of Soul Masters were not cabbages. If a 6th grade sect had a Sea of Soul Master, they would become one of the peak 6th grade sections. For 5th grade sects, the number of Sea of Soul Masters was also the key to their comprehensive strength. Using the words of Yi Chen's world, life and death kings were nuclear weapons, while Sea of Soul Masters were guided missiles. Nuclear weapons couldn't be used casually, so guided missiles became the main weapons, each having their own uses. Zhang Jingguang said, since he did something wrong, he has to atone for it. His crime isn't worthy of death. Therefore, I'll report to the higher-ups and send him to Blood Battle Ocean. He'll render meritorious service for Dragon God's Celestial Palace and atone for his crimes. Blood Battle Ocean? Yi Chen could feel the killing intent in this name. Zhang Jingguang smiled, Blood Battle Ocean is rich in resources. All the major forces of Eastern Shallow Ocean have their troops stationed there. It's a cruel place. Faintly nodding, Yi Chen was clear that when it came to the fight for resources, it would be hard to not be cruel. Yi Chen, what's your strength? Zhang Jingguang suddenly asked. Yi Chen pondered for a moment then said, without using the Thunder Disaster Sword, I should be able to contend against ordinary Sea of Soul Masters. However, if I were to encounter an ordinary Sea of Soul Master with an extremely fast speed, I would be at a disadvantage. Defense had always been Yi Chen's weakness. Facing a Sea of Souls Realm Master-level warrior with a fast speed, this weakness would be magnified. You are at the peak of early Sea of Soul Realm, and you haven't trained any defensive profound sense martial skills. So, it is inevitable that your defense will be low. Actually, Zhang Jingguang was already very surprised. There were 3 criteria to be a master-level Sea of Souls Realm warrior. First, a late Sea of Souls Realm cultivation. Second, a couple of low-rank profound sense martial arts and 1 mid-rank profound sense martial art. Third, a rank 4 martial spirit. Of course, since some people were special in certain areas, even if one of the 3 did not meet the criteria, they could still be considered as a master-level warrior as long as their overall power was enough. Yi Chen's cultivation and profound sense martial arts did not meet the criteria, but with only his powerful sword spirit, he was able to enter the master-level warrior realm. It was not hard to imagine how powerful he was. This kind of genius is hard to find in the whole world. No wonder Palace Master would list him as the #1 seed of Dragon God's Celestial Palace. Even Li Shaoling and the rest are ranked behind him. Li Shaoling was one of the candidates for Yellow Dragon Hall's deputy. His overall strength might not be as good as Yi Chen's, but he was strong in all aspects. His cultivation base was at the peak of mid-Sea of Soul Realm, and he was already studying mid-rank profound sense martial skills. His martial spirit was at the 4th rank. Originally, Zhang Jingguang was more optimistic about Li Shaoling. However, after seeing Yi Chen, he changed his opinion. In comparison, Yi Chen was younger, and his potential was greater. Especially his sword spirit, it was simply world-shaking. Once he matured in other aspects, his accomplishments would be astonishing. Yaoifeng, this matter was an accident. I hope you don't take it to heart. Many people of my dragon god's celestial palace attach great importance to you. Zhang Jingguang said with a stern expression. Yi Chen laughed involuntarily. Hall Master Zhang is overthinking things. When the forest is big, there are all kinds of birds. I won't take this matter to heart. It's good that you can think this way. Zhang Jingguang let out a sigh of relief. He had long heard of Yi Chen's character, and after seeing it today, he felt that it was true. Yi Chen recalled the matter of Murong Qingqing's mother and said with a frown, Hall Master Zhang, how long will the shadowless poison flare up? Zhang Jingguang's face turned cold. The shadowless poison is one of the most mysterious poisons under the heavens. After being poisoned, it becomes traceless and formless, making it impossible to find the source. Precisely because of this, the shadowless poisons flare up a bit later. It won't be fatal immediately, but once it does, nobody can save it, including life and death kings. The duration of the shadowless poison's flare-up is related to the grade of the poisoned person's spirit body. If a Sea of Soul Realm expert with a first-step spirit body is poisoned, it will be fatal in 3 days. If a second-step spirit body is poisoned, it will be 10 days, and a third-step spirit body is 1 month. As for martial artists under Sea of Soul Realm, it will be impossible to save them in 1 day. 1 month. Su Ruhui had a third-step spirit body, which meant that she only had a month to live. They had to find a way to save her within a month. Then, is there any way for life and death kings to save her? Zhang Jingguang shook his head. I don't know either. The shadowless poison is extremely rare, and very few people are poisoned. Therefore, there is no precedent. However, I think that even if life and death kings can't save her, they should be able to delay the flare-up of the poison. Delay the flare-up? Is Senior Dragon King in the Dragon God's Celestial Palace? The first person Yi Chen thought of was Dragon King. Without a choice, he could only consider it as owing Dragon King another favor. Zhang Jingguang smiled bitterly. I won't hide it from you. Palace Master is currently in closed-door training. Nobody knows where he went. Moreover, you should have heard that Palace Master's age has already surpassed 1,000 years, breaking the limit of human kings. This is his second closed-door training, and we're all very worried. Hearing these words, Yi Chen creased his brows. Sure enough, breaking the limit of human life was not that easy. Even Dragon King was in closed-door training, so one could easily imagine how difficult it was. This should be a secret, right? Yi Chen didn't understand why Zhang Jingguang would say this. Palace Master's closed-door training is not a secret. Many people are waiting for him to fail. Of course, before he fails, they won't dare to make a move. Yi Chen, actually, you don't have to go to Palace Master. In terms of saving people, Xianhou is much more skilled than Palace Master. I think if you go to Xianhou should agree. Yi Chen's talent was impossible for Xianhou not to notice. If Yi Chen went, he would be more useful than anyone else. Moreover, Xianhou and Dragon King had a good relationship, so it was impossible for Xianhou not to give face to Dragon King. Pausing for a bit, Zhang Jingguang continued, Xuanhou's sect is in Sky Martial Region's Phoenix Cry Mountain. It's not too far from here, about 7 million li away. You can make it back in time. However, you have to be careful on the way. If there is nothing urgent, I can go with you. Every time Dragon King entered closed-door training, Dragon God's Celestial Palace would be busier than usual. Zhang Jingguang had rushed over despite his busy schedule, which showed how much importance he attached to Yi Chen. Of course, it was not impossible for him to go with Yi Chen. However, Dragon King had instructed him to let Yi Chen experience more pressure. He shouldn't care about such a trivial matter. No need to trouble Palace Master Zhang. I will be more cautious by myself. Yi Chen naturally wouldn't trouble Zhang Jingguang. Taking out a map from his storage ring, Zhang Jingguang handed it over to Yi Chen and said, "This is the map of Sky Martial Region. Phoenix Cry Mountain is on it." Many thanks. Receiving the map, Yi Chen casually put it in his storage ring. In a spacious and comfortable courtyard of Yellow Dragon Palace's branch, Murong Jishui and his family were together. Jishui, Qingqing, cheer up. I'm not going to die right now. There's still time. Su Ruhui saw Murong Jishui and Murong Qingqing's gloomy expressions and said helplessly. Murong Jishui said, no matter what, I'll save you, even if I have to risk my life. After 30 years of affection, Murong Jishui had already considered Su Ruhui as a part of him, inseparable. Mother! Murong Qingqing's eyes were bright red. If not for her, her mother wouldn't have been poisoned. She hated Yuan clan, but at the same time, she felt powerless. Pata! Pata! Footsteps sounded. Yi Chen walked in from outside. Yi Chen. The three looked over. Yi Chen smiled, Uncle, Murong, there might be a way to cure Auntie's poison. There is. Murong Jishui and Murong Qingqing's eyes brightened. Although they knew that there was no poison in this world that could not be cured, there was a limit to their power. Right now, Yi Chen had undoubtedly brought them a ray of hope, even if it might turn out to be a disappointment in the end. What is it? Murong Jishui asked hopefully. Yi Chen said, tomorrow morning, I will leave for Sky Martial Region's Phoenix Cry Mountain and ask Xianhou to save Auntie. I think with Xuanhou's power, there would be a great chance to cure Auntie. Even if it doesn't work, it would at least delay the outbreak of the poison, giving me time to find the ingredients to make the antidote. Ask Xianhou to save Ruhui. Murong Jishui was shocked. Xianhou had taken good care of the Demi family, but it was not limited to the Murong family. Even the abstruse bead that she gave to his daughter Qingqing was sent over by someone else. She did not come here personally. It could be seen that she only regarded her daughter Qingqing as a genius that could be cultivated, unlike the Dragon King who valued Yi Chen. After all, how many Yi Chens were there in this world? Of course, if there was no other way, they could only ask Qingqing to look for Xianhou. Now that Yi Chen said that he was going to look for Xianhou, it undoubtedly increased the hope. Yi Chen's current achievements were already so shocking, in a few years, there would be no one who would not pay attention to him. It was very likely that he would become the future Sword King, or even the Sword Emperor. That's right, the Dragon King is currently in closed-door training. Palace head Zhang asked me to look for Xianhou. Yi Chen nodded. Then I'll leave it to you. Oh right, I'll go with you. Murong Jishui recalled that Yi Chen was also a target of public criticism and was somewhat worried. Who knew, someone might launch a sneak attack on him. Yi Chen shook his head and said, Uncle, you stay here and accompany Auntie. I alone am enough. In fact, he was worried that he would not be able to save Su Ruhui. And if he could not save her, this would be the last time Su Ruhui and Murong Jishui could be together. Yi Chen, be careful. Murong Qingqing was currently still at the peak of late astral reaching realm. If she went with Yi Chen, she would only be a burden. She inwardly decided that she had to enter the Sea of Soul realm as soon as possible. Otherwise, the distance between her and Yi Chen would only grow further and further, and she would not be able to protect the family. I will. Yi Chen gave Murong Qingqing a reassuring glance. Chapter 559. On the second morning, Yi Chen departed. The journey to the Sky Martial Region's Phoenix Cry Mountain was more than 7 million li. Even if he rode the flying puppet and flew day and night, it would still take him dozens of days. If it were in the past, dozens of days would not be a big deal for him. But now, every extra day he spent would mean more danger for Su Ruhui. High up in the sky, the rock-shaped flying puppet spread its wings and shot out. Each breath could cover 6 to 7 li, leaving a blade-like air current behind it. Sitting cross-legged on the back of the puppet, Yi Chen was not in the mood to look at the sea of clouds on both sides. He focused on training. During the battle with Yuan Lai, the latter had brought him a lot of pressure. Under this pressure, his spirit, qi, and soul had all made a breakthrough, becoming as sharp as a sword and as sharp as gold. He had comprehended the essence of the gold profound, which allowed him to bring his gold resonant radiant sword art from 90% completion to completion. In terms of power, the gold resonant radiant sword art at completion was not below the void shattering finger art. If it were used with the thunder disaster sword, its power would be even greater than the void shattering finger art. It would be his number one ace attack. However, his biggest ace had been exposed, and his power had become transparent. For Yi Chen, it would be very dangerous. Perhaps, someone had already investigated his power and sent someone to ambush him. Therefore, although the completion of the gold resonant radiant sword art was a good thing, he could not be complacent, because complacency was a sign of failure. If he was lucky, he might still have a chance to recover, but if he was unlucky, he would fall and become a shooting star among the countless geniuses of the continent. Although it would be bright and dazzling, it would only last for a second. The void-shattering finger art cannot be improved in a short period of time. From the space mentality to the space profound, the difficulty is way beyond my imagination. I'm afraid it will not be as easy as cultivating the gold resonant radiant sword art to completion. However, if I can enter the deep void and observe the space power from a close distance, it will be a whole different story. Amaranthan nature is the advanced profound sword movement of the Green Lotus sword arts, and its level of subtlety is quite impressive. Once the sword is thrust out, it can accelerate through the air, making the actual sword speed faster than the naked eye can see, giving the opponent no time to react. However, the Amaranthan nature is more exquisite, but its power is still not enough. It is a bit lacking as an ace attack. In terms of sword movements, besides the gold resonant radiant sword art, only the Sky Thunder Cut and the Reverse Sky Thunder Cut can be used as ace attacks. These two attacks, one positive and the other negative, stacked together, would increase their power exponentially. Under the condition of 70% completion, the two attacks would be as powerful as the 90% gold resonant radiance sword art. If it could reach 80% completion, it would probably surpass the completed gold resonant radiance sword art and become the number one ace attack. After quickly going through all the sword moves he had learned in his mind, Yi Chen made a decision. Next, he would use all his strength to break through Sky Thunder Cut and Reverse Sky Thunder Cut. Of course, it didn't mean that he would give up on the other sword moves, but he would focus on these two moves. The Sky Thunder Cut is my own creation, and it would be quite troublesome to learn. There is no clear path, so I would have to figure it out by myself. But these two attacks have enough potential, so it would be worth it to sacrifice some time. Let's see if I can learn something in these 10 days. Unknowingly, the flying puppet had carried Yi Chen far away from the ancient wind city. It is time to make my move. 100 miles behind the flying puppet, a black shadow suddenly increased its speed. From 10 times the speed of sound, it reached 20 times the speed of sound. The instantaneous acceleration had caused the air in the surroundings to be unable to handle the pressure and explode. A circle of perfect space pattern spread out. 80 miles. 50 miles. 10 miles. Brat, stop right there. After chasing for 10 miles, the black shadow that was wrapped in light reached out one of his hands. That hand clenched into a fist and punched out toward where Yi Chen was standing. Back! Yi Chen did not even look back as his body jumped into the air. The flying puppet below him turned into a beam of shadow and disappeared from where it was. The next second, the space started to shake, and a blurry fist mark was left in the surreal space, looking extremely aggressive. Turning around in the air, Yi Chen looked at the approaching black shadow and said sarcastically, "You have waited until now to make your move. It must have been hard on you. You knew." The newcomer was wearing a black mask, which had the effect of blocking out soul power. Right then, he sounded a bit surprised. "You guessed it right." A silver light appeared in Yi Chen's pupils. His invisible soul power went through the black mask and saw the real face of the newcomer. Sure enough, it is a Sea of Soul Master Warrior who went to the Yuan family to congratulate them. He seems to be called Tyrant Fist Master. He is a loner without any family or sect, and has only recently arrived in the Gulan region. He has a good relationship with the head elder of the Yuan family, Yuan Jin. This person specializes in fist arts, which are very aggressive. That day, there were 7 Sea of Soul Master Warriors who went to the Yuan family. 1 from the Gulan sect, 3 from the other big sects, 1 from Yaoifeng, 1 from Murong Jishui, and 1 from this tyrant fist master. Apart from Yaoifeng and Murong Jishui, Yichen also had some information on the other 5. You guessed right, but there is no reward. Tyrant fist master's exposed eyes released a cold killing intent. Yi Chen's strength was similar to Yuan Lai's, and his half-step extreme rank sword was only slightly higher. On the other hand, his strength was the same as Yuan Jin's. His Duga tyrant fist art was even more aggressive, which specialized in breaking through protective Jin Yuan. Therefore, in his eyes, Yi Chen was already a dead man. Once he killed him, his wealth and half-step extreme rank sword would all be his. It doesn't matter if I don't get a reward, but you must get one. Otherwise, wouldn't you have wasted your trip? Yi Chen said indifferently. Courting death. Tyrant Fist Master roared as his body swooped down, throwing out a punch. It was an extremely simple punch without any fancy moves. However, in the hands of Tyrant Fist Master, it was no longer ordinary. The aggressive fist intent pierced through the clouds without any hindrance. Yi Chen's expression turned serious. The air around him turned viscous under the fist intent, as if the void had been frozen. Void-shattering finger. Yi Chen pointed out his finger. Wherever his blue finger went, the sticky air had been dispelled, as if the snow in the spring had been melted by the hot sun. Pang! The blue finger and the aggressive fist shadow clashed together, causing the space to ripple and blur. Even soul power was greatly affected. Yellow Dragon sealing great art. Throwing out a finger attack, Yi Chen suddenly took out a yellow light ball, which floated in front of his chest. Yi Chen formed a spell with both of his hands. As he did so, a dark yellow light started to move within the yellow light ball, looking like a furious dragon. Buzz! The yellow light ball shook once, and a yellow dragon shadow broke out of it. It ignored the chaotic chi flow between the two and flew above Tyrant Fist Master's head. The dragon shadow's tail hung down while its head was raised up high, bearing its fangs and claws like a totem. Ah! Yellow dragon sealing great art. Tyrant Fist Master was already within 100 meters of Yi Chen. Seeing the yellow dragon shadow, he looked like he had seen a ghost, his face full of fear. Seal! Yi Chen did not give his opponent any chance. He finished forming the spell, and the yellow dragon shadow shone with dozens of light dots. As the light dots lit up, the yellow dragon shadow suddenly shrunk down, ignoring the protective Jin Yuan layer and entering his body. The whole process could only be described as lightning fast. No! My Jin Yuan! Tyrant Fist Master did not expect that Yi Chen would learn the yellow dragon sealing great art in one night, and even get the Dragon Ball. If he had known that Yi Chen had learned the yellow dragon sealing great art, he would not have dared to attack Yi Chen. Even if he wanted to, he would have to keep his distance and not give his opponent a chance to lock onto him. The yellow dragon sealing great art was a secret of the Dragon God's celestial palace, and it was also one of the reasons why the palace was able to dominate the world. Yi Chen, give me a chance. I will leave immediately and not trouble you anymore. My Tyrant Fist Master will never go back on his words. In his extreme panic, Tyrant Fist Master even revealed his identity. But, it did not matter anymore at this point. Nothing was more important than his life. Yi Chen sneered, if I am captured by you, will you let me go? As long as you release the yellow dragon sealing great art, I am willing to work like a horse for you. Having a master-level Sea of Souls realm as your slave is something that many geniuses do not have. Tyrant Fist Master sounded very sincere, but his eyes were filled with killing intent. What was supposed to be in the bag had now become his slave. He could not accept it. All right, I will release you right now. Stepping on the air, Yi Chen walked over step by step. No! Tyrant Fist Master could sense the killing intent coming from Yi Chen's body. Pushing out the Jin Yuan that was not completely sealed, he tried to escape. Shoo! Yichen caught up with him, his gold sword piercing through his head. I hate this. Before he died, Tyrant Fist Master's face was full of regret. Taking away his storage ring, Yichen threw out a punch, and the dead body of the Tyrant Fist Master was instantly destroyed, leaving nothing behind. Yellow Dragon sealing great art. So horrifying. Yichen stared at the dim yellow light ball in his hand, feeling a bit shocked. It was Zhang Jingguang who had taught him the Yellow Dragon sealing great art. Of course, it was the will of the Dragon King. As the secret art of the Dragon God's celestial palace, it was not that hard to learn, since it did not have much of a secret. All he had to do was use his soul power and Jinyuan to activate the sealing power in the Dragon Ball. With a bit of guidance, he would be able to complete the seal. However, learning the Yellow Dragon sealing great art did not mean that he would be able to seal others. Without the Dragon Ball, it would be impossible, and the Dragon Ball was given to him by the Dragon King himself. According to Zhang Jingguang, there were not more than 10 people in the palace who had Dragon Balls. The fact that he was able to get one meant that the Dragon King trusted him, since not every one of the 5 palace leaders had one. As for the power of the Dragon Ball, it was not limitless. In fact, without replenishment, one ball could only perform the Yellow Dragon sealing great art once. For example, Zhang Jingguang had performed the Yellow Dragon sealing great art on Yaoifang, and that ball had been destroyed temporarily. As for how to replenish it, Yichen did not know. There were a few key points to perform the Yellow Dragon sealing great art. First, the opponent had to be within 100 meters. Second, the soul power had to be more powerful than the opponent, since the sealing power of the Dragon Ball depended on the soul power of the user. The more powerful the user's soul power, the more powerful the sealing power would be. Third, when performing the Yellow Dragon sealing great art, it could not be interrupted. Once it was interrupted, the user would be attacked by the sealing power, which would be very serious. Therefore, it could only be used for one-on-one. Chapter 560. Shoo! The flying puppet shot out of the storage ring as Yichen jumped onto it and sat with his legs crossed. He then pushed it to fly at a high speed, pushing its speed to its limit. This Tyrant Fist Master is a bit richer than Murong Wang. He has 400,000 top-rank spirit stones and 3 top-rank weapons. But, he does not have any extreme-rank spirit stones. Inserting his soul power into the storage ring, Yichen smiled lightly. Adding the top-rank spirit stones he had on him, he had 800,000 in total. It was not a small amount, and if he were alone, he would be one of the top warriors among master-level Sea of Souls realm warriors. There was only one region between the Gulan region and the Sky Martial region. 5 days later, Yichen rode his flying puppet and arrived at the Sky Martial region. 10 days later, Yichen saw the Phoenix Cry Mountain. The Phoenix Cry Mountain Range was one of the top 3 mountain ranges in the Sky Martial region, stretching for hundreds of thousands of miles. After flying for half a day, Yichen finally arrived at the core area of the mountain range. Once there, Yichen had no choice but to come down. In his sight, there were countless mountains that were tens of thousands of meters tall, reaching into the sky like pillars. Yichen estimated with his eyes that the shortest one was at least 9,000 meters tall, while the tallest one even reached above the sea of clouds, almost reaching the sky. On top of each of these mountains, there were massive palaces of different sizes, hidden deep within the winding clouds, vaguely visible. In Yichen's eyes, each mountain was like a beehive, with black dots flying in and out like busy bees. It is indeed the famous Phoenix Cry Mountain. Even a small mountain here is way more majestic than the Sky Cloud Martial School's Windy Mountain. Yichen was a bit emotional. They were both martial institutions, but the difference was way too huge. Who is coming to my mysterious martial school? From the palace closest to Yichen, a red figure flew out. It was as fast as lightning, appearing not far away from Yichen within a second. This was a middle-aged man wearing a scarlet-red robe with a quaint appearance. From his speed, he was at least an expert of the true human rank. The mountain he was on was only in the middle to lower reaches of the mountain peaks, so it was obvious that he was only in the middle to upper levels. Yi Chen held his fists together and said, "I am Yi Chen from the South Rudra region. I would like to see the leader of the mysterious martial school, Xianhou." The martial school that Xianhou had created was called the Mysterious Martial School, which had more females than males. It was the place that all the female disciples wanted to go. Yi Chen from the Sky Cloud Martial School from the South Rudra region? The middle-aged man in red had heard of Yi Chen before. Of course, it was not because Yi Chen's fame had spread all the way to the Sky Martial region. In fact, in the Sky Martial region, Yi Chen did not have any fame at all. The only reason he knew about Yi Chen was because the leader had mentioned Yi Chen in a meeting a couple of years ago. Being mentioned by the leader, how could all the middle and high-level members of the mysterious martial school not pay attention to him? Indeed, it is me. I am the leader of the Fire Cloud Mountain, Zhang Dihe. You wait in the palace and have a cup of tea. I will go inform the leader. The Fire Cloud Mountain was one of the 36 peaks of the mysterious martial school, and it was also the first line of defense. After knowing about Yi Chen's identity, Zhang Dihe did not dare to be slow, so he suggested. Yi Chen nodded and followed him towards the Fire Cloud Palace on top of the mountain. After waiting in the palace for a while, Zhang Dihe returned. Yi Chen, the leader wants to see you. The mysterious martial school had 48 important peaks in total. It was called the top 3 peaks, the middle 9 peaks, and the bottom 36 peaks. With Zhang Dihe leading the way, Yi Chen did not face any obstacles along the way. Soon, he arrived at the main peak of the mysterious martial school. Looking over, the entire mysterious martial school was covered in a layer of crystal-colored mist. Yi Chen knew that it was the great protective spell of the mysterious martial school. It had an amazing defense, and even a life and death realm warrior would not be able to break in within a short period of time. Who? The crystal-colored mist in front of him separated, revealing a massive crystal door. Zhang Dihe said, "I will not go in." If there was nothing important, the leader would not be allowed to enter the mysterious martial school. It was the rule of the mysterious martial school. Yi Chen held his fists at Zhang Dihe before flashing his body and flying in. Passing through the crystal-colored mist, Yi Chen finally realized that the real mysterious martial school was a whole different world. Looking from the inside, it seemed to be much bigger than the outside, as if he had entered another world. Besides that, the spirit qi in this place was very rich, and even the air was a bit moist. With a casual breath, one could feel the spirit qi entering one's body and slowly turning into Jin Yuan. What a great place! Yi Chen praised as he looked at the beautiful female disciple who had just arrived. You are Yi Chen. This girl was the same as Yi Chen, at peak level early Sea of Soul's realm. She was about 23 or 24 years old. Of course, once one reached the Sea of Soul's realm, one would not be able to tell their age from their appearance. For example, Yi Chen was almost 25 years old, but he looked like he was in his early 20s. Being in someone else's territory, Yi Chen knew that he had to be polite, so he smiled and said, "Indeed. How should I address you, sister disciple?" "I am the leader's third disciple, Miao Yin. Come with me." The mysterious queen's residence was not on the mysterious peak. Instead, it was in the sky above the mysterious peak. It was a floating mountain, just like the floating mountain. Of course, although this floating mountain of the mysterious sect was not as big as the floating mountain, the materials used were obviously not of the same level. It looked like gold or jade, and contained a horrifying power. It was not something to be underestimated. On top of the floating mountain, there was a pond and a few wooden houses that formed a small manor. Beside the pond, a lady in her 20s was feeding the fish. Her long hair was like a waterfall, reaching all the way to her feet. Her eyes were calm and peaceful. "Miao Yin, you can leave for now." "Yes, teacher." The beautiful female disciple called Miao Yin left with respect. Getting onto the floating mountain, Yi Chen saw Xianhou. Right then, Xianhou was different from the mental power image he had seen in the parallel space battlefield. The mental power image of Xianhou was so beautiful and unforgettable. Right now, Xianhou seemed a lot more reserved and natural. Senior Xianhou, sorry to disturb you. Xianhou smiled lightly, my real name is Xianhou Qingxian. You can just call me Senior Yan. Senior Yan. Is there something you need my help with? The two were separated by a small pond as Xianhou spoke while feeding the fish. Yichen nodded, it is about Murong Qingqing. What happened to her? Xianhou lifted up her head. She had paid quite a bit of attention to Murong Qingqing, since she was a good seed. Murong is fine. However, Murong's mother, Su Ruhui, has been poisoned by the Yuan family's shadowless poison. The only antidote she had was also destroyed by Yuan Jin. Therefore, I would like to ask the mysterious queen for help. Yichen told Xianhou his intention. Yuan family. Shadowless poison. Nonsense. Xianhou was a bit angry. She had tried her best to help the demi-demon family, hoping that the human race would treat them fairly. But, there were some demi-demon families that did not want to be united, and were destroying themselves instead. She had heard about the Yuan family's aggressive style, but she had never thought that they would dare to poison their own people. Not to mention, it was one of the most powerful poisons in the world. Senior, do you have any way to save her? Yichen was quite confident in Xianhou. Besides being powerful, she was also well-versed in many other things, especially in saving people's lives. There are less than 5 different kinds of poisons in the world, and I can save more than 5 different kinds. Unfortunately, the shadowless poison is one of the poisons that I cannot cure. Even Senior Yan cannot cure her. Yichen's heart sank. Although there was an antidote for the shadowless poison, finding the ingredients for it was extremely hard. Some of the ingredients were things that he had never even heard of before. Xianhou said, don't worry. Although I cannot cure her completely, I can still extend her life for a couple of years. Hearing her, Yichen let out a breath. With a couple of years as a buffer, there would be a lot more hope. The shadowless poison is not easy to deal with. You and I will go check it out first. Xianhou waved her palm in the air, and a surreal door appeared on top of the pond. Shoo! Xianhou stepped into it, and Yichen followed without hesitation. Deep in the surreal space, the surreal door kept flashing. Each time it flashed, it would be extremely far away. After 15 minutes, the surreal door appeared in the branch of the Yellow Dragon Palace. Walking out of the door, Yichen was shocked. Although he knew that life and death realm warriors were powerful and unimaginable, the ancient Wind City was 7 million miles away from the Fengming Mountain. It took him dozens of days to get there, but it only took him 15 minutes to get back. This kind of power was beyond his imagination. Senior Xianhou. Seeing Xianhou and Yichen suddenly appear in the room, Murong Qingqing and Murong Zhishui were shocked. Waving her hand, Xianhou looked at Su Ruhui, whose face was a bit pale. Luckily, we got here early. The poison qi has already started to corrode her body. Senior, please save my wife. Murong Zhishui had been very worried for the past couple of days. At first, Su Ruhui was no different from a normal person. But after 10 days, the problem was getting worse and worse. No one knew where the poison came from, but it had started to corrode her body. Even her Jin Yuan could not stop it. You guys get out. Xianhou said. Uncle, Murong, let's go out first. Yichen dragged the two out. The treatment did not take long. After 15 minutes, the door was opened. Murong Zhishui and Murong Qingqing went in to check. Seeing that Su Ruhui was perfectly fine, they thought that she was completely cured, so they thanked her profusely. Xianhou had a bitter smile on her face, don't be too happy yet. The poison is still there. I just let her live for 3 more years. After 3 years, not only would my mysterious sealing art not be able to seal the shadowless poison, it would even become its accomplice, which would speed up her death. No one would be able to save her. Therefore, within 3 years, you guys have to gather all the ingredients for the antidote. Yichen said, Uncle, Murong, you guys do not need to worry too much. 3 years is a long time, and it is more than enough for us to find the antidote. Plus, I already have a couple of ingredients for the antidote, so the rest should be fine. Flipping his left hand, Yichen took out a couple of spirit plants, which he got from the herb garden on the Treasure River Island. As for the antidote for the shadowless poison, everyone in the demi-demon family knew about it. Of course, it was impossible for Xianhou not to know about it. Xianhou was not surprised that Yichen had these spirit plants. Every genius had their own luck, and without a doubt, Yichen's luck would not be any worse than other geniuses. Yichen, from now on, you can travel around the Sky Martial region. Maybe you can find the ingredients for the antidote. Chapter 561. The Sky Martial region was the top region of the True Spirit continent. Its area was only slightly smaller than the top 4 regions, but it was way bigger than any of the other regions. The Sky Martial region was a great place, and some of the rare spirit plants and medicines could be found in the outside world. It was said that the undead tree was in the Sky Martial region, but unfortunately, no one knew where it was, not even Su King or Xianhou. After all, there were still too many unknown places. Hearing Xianhou say that she wanted him to go to the Sky Martial region, Yichen nodded. The Sky Martial region was a sacred place for all the martial geniuses, so there was no reason for him not to go. With his power right now, he might be able to make a name for himself. The situation in the Sky Martial region is complicated. After you get there, come to the Phoenix Cry Mountain first. Xianhou could tell that Yichen did not want to go right now, so she waved her right hand and walked into the surreal door made of space power. Shoo! She disappeared without a trace. Waiting until Xianhou left, Murong Jishui sighed, the shadowless poison is a special poison created by my demi-demon family. I cannot believe that I would have to use it on my wife one day. Yichen comforted him, Uncle, if you trust me, I will take care of the antidote. 3 years is long enough. I'll leave it to you then. There were a lot of materials to make the antidote, so Murong Jishui could only hope that Yichen would be lucky all the time. Now that it is done, let's go back to the South Ridra region. Yichen had already thought about going back to the Sky Martial region, so he was ready to say goodbye. Of course. Murong Jishui nodded. The leader of the Yellow Dragon Palace, Zhang Jingguang, had already left. Yichen and the group said goodbye to Wang Shi and Yan Kuei, then got on the red-eyed bird and started their journey back to the South Ridra region. Yichen had to admit that the red-eyed vicious bird was indeed a bit slow. If the distance was only a few million miles, it would still be manageable. But if it was more than that, it would take way too long. Without a choice, Yichen took out the 2 flying puppets. The flying puppets seemed to be only twice as fast as the red-eyed vicious bird, but it would save them twice as much time. Without it, the flying puppets did not need to rest at all. How could they not be fast after flying day and night? Around 20 days later, the group returned to the Murong clan. When I reach the Sea of Souls realm, I will go to the Sky Martial region to find you. Murong Qingqing knew that the gap between her and Yichen was just too huge. Only by reaching the Seas of Souls realm would she be able to close the gap. Otherwise, she would only be a burden if she went. But, her advantage was not that small either. Once she trained a part of the demon power essence, she would be able to reach peak level early Seas of Souls realm at least. Mid Seas of Souls realm might even be possible, since the demon power essence was the essence of the demon power inside the demon's body. Every bit of it contained a huge amount of demon power, which would benefit her greatly. There's no rush. It's best to consolidate your cultivation first. How could Yichen not know about Murong Qingqing's advantage? Once she reached the Sea of Souls realm, she would be at least at the Spirit Warrior level, which would be a huge advantage. But, the Sky Martial region was not like any other place. It was the holy land of martial geniuses, gathering all the top martial geniuses of the whole continent. Yes. Murong Qingqing pursed her lips. Although her relationship with Yi Chen had not reached the point of intimacy, it was not far from it. They just needed to spend more time together. I will leave this flying puppet to you. I will need it in the future. Flipping his wrist, the leopard-shaped flying puppet appeared, floating in the air between the two. Yi Chen smiled as he looked at her, not hiding his emotions at all. A slight blush appeared on her face as Murong Qingqing's bright eyes contained a hint of affection. On the way back to the Windy Nation, Yi Chen took out the Dragon Ball. So, the Dragon Ball's power can be replenished automatically. I wonder when it will be fully replenished? It had been more than a month since he had performed the Yellow Dragon sealing great art for the first time. During this time, the Dragon Ball had slowly recovered its color, and was no longer dim. The Yellow Dragon sealing great art is easy to learn, but it is extremely hard to master. Although it seemed easy to deal with the Tyrant Fist Master, it is actually because my soul power is powerful enough. Zhang Xingguang's soul power was way weaker than Yi Chen's, but he was still able to make Yao Yifeng unable to fight back at all. On the other hand, Yi Chen's soul power was 4 to 5 times that of Zhang Xingguang's. When he sealed the Tyrant Fist Master, he still managed to leave a bit of Jin Yuan behind. This was the gap between them, and it was not just a small one. Shoo! The flying puppet disappeared into the horizon. The endless mountain range in front of him was getting bigger and bigger. Sitting on the flying puppet, Yi Chen could see the Fire Cloud Mountain, one of the 36 mountains under the mysterious martial school. This time, I am afraid I will be staying in the Sky Martial region for a long time. Back in the South Rudra region, Yi Chen stayed at his family for a couple of days before saying goodbye to his parents again and leaving for the Phoenix Cry Mountain in the Sky Martial region. Last time, he had come in a hurry, so Yi Chen did not have the time to observe the mountain properly. This time, he realized that there was a light desolate qi mixed in the mountain range, which meant that the mountain range had a very long history, dating back to the ancient era. Chirp! A bright bird chirp was heard. Yi Chen's expression changed slightly as he felt his blood flow increase. This bird? Yi Chen looked over and could see a huge blue bird flying in the sky on the side of the Fire Cloud Mountain. The huge bird's wings were 7 to 8 meters long, and there was a crown-like feather on its head. There were also 3 distinctive tricolored feathers behind its tail, which made it look like the king of the birds. The descendant of the phoenix. Blue Phoenix. Yi Chen gasped. He did not expect to see a blue phoenix in the Phoenix Cry mountain range. It was not a normal beast. Judging on potential, it was even more powerful than Sun Shaojin from the water ape race. It was a top-rank beast, which was equal to the 9-headed snake. In other words, once it matured, it would be at least a top-rank 10 beast, and it would have a huge chance of becoming a beast king. Plus, the higher the potential of the beast, the more powerful it would be. With the blue phoenix's potential, it would be able to beat any beast at the same rank, including Sun Shaojin. It was a beast that was famous even in the ancient era. Shoo! The blue phoenix flapped its wings and jumped toward Yi Chen, its feather crown burning with blue flame. Yi Chen's expression changed. This blue phoenix was at rank 9, and he did not know why it was flying toward him. You are Yi Chen. When it was dozens of meters away, the blue phoenix suddenly stopped and spoke in human language. It was a female voice. Indeed. Yi Chen was a bit confused. It was not like he had not seen beasts that could speak human language before. The water ape race was one of them, but they were similar to humans, so it was not strange for them to speak. I am the head disciple of the leader, Yan Fengfeng. Nice to meet you. The blue phoenix said. So it's senior sister Yan. Yi Chen cupped his fists together. Hee, follow me. Master is waiting for you. With a wave of her tail, Yan Fengfeng turned around and flapped her wings, moving at an extreme speed. Such a fast speed. Yi Chen increased his speed to 90% before he could barely catch up with her. Seeing how relaxed she looked, he guessed that she had only used half of her speed. Yan Fengfeng wanted to test Yi Chen's speed. Her blue wings flapped slightly, and her speed increased again. It was so fast that it did not even look real. Sword light flying spell. Yi Chen bit on his teeth as a sharp sword light shot out of his body. The sword light flashed once before carrying his body and shooting out, chasing after Yan Fengfeng. Not bad. You can barely catch up with me by half. Yan Fengfeng said shockingly. What? Yi Chen was shocked. Right then, he had even performed his sword light flying spell, which was more than 20 times the speed of sound. But, it was only half of her speed. Yan Fengfeng chuckled, don't be surprised. Among the young generation of the Sky Martial region, I might not be the most powerful. But, speaking of speed, if I say I am number 2, no one would dare to say they are number 1. You are only at peak level early Sea of Souls realm, but you already have master level speed. It is already very impressive. It seems like I have to perfect my sword light flying spell. Even though she had said it like that, Yi Chen could not help but feel emotional. Being twice as fast as him. What kind of concept was that? It would be like being born unbeatable. Below the life and death realm, no one would be able to catch up with Yan Fengfeng. As for the sword light flying spell, it seemed a bit outdated in his eyes. At astral reaching realm, the speed of the sword light flying spell was almost as fast as the attacking speed. But, at the Sea of Souls realm, it was still far away from the attacking speed, since he was only at the astral reaching realm when he created it. Soon, Yi Chen and Yan Fengfeng arrived at the mysterious peak. You are here. Xuanho's voice was heard. At the same time, a guiding power covered him and Yan Fengfeng, bringing them directly to the floating mountain above the mysterious peak. Senior Yan. Master. Xuanho nodded and looked at Yi Chen. Although you are not my disciple, the old Dragon King and I have always treated you as one. Don't be too reserved. Thank you, Senior Yan. Fengfeng, it is Yi Chen's first time in the Sky Martial region, so he is not clear about some of the rules. You take him to the Sky Martial Pavilion and leave your name there. Yes. Yan Fengfeng nodded, the blue flame on her feather crown spinning around. Sky Martial Pavilion. Yi Chen was indeed not clear about the rules of the Sky Martial region, since the Battle King's life information was way too much. Therefore, he only had a part of the Battle King's memory. Also, this time, there are a couple of disciples from our mysterious martial school who are going to the Sky Martial Pavilion to leave their names there. I will leave them all to you. Xuanho thought very highly of Yan Fengfeng. Speaking of which, Yan Fengfeng could be counted as her half-daughter. When she first came to the Phoenix Cry Mountain, she did not set up her martial school here. It was not until she found a blue phoenix egg deep under the mountain that she used a secret technique to hatch it that she had Yan Fengfeng. Master, my shape-shifting pellets are almost used up. Yan Fengfeng looked at Xuanho with puppy eyes. Xuanho chuckled as she took out a jade bottle and threw it to her, use it sparingly. These pellets are not easy to make. Thank you, Master. Yan Fengfeng waved her tail as she opened her mouth to catch the jade bottle. Opening the bottle, a round pellet fell into her mouth and she swallowed it. Whoo! A blue light that was like the sun shone brightly. When the green light dissipated, the figure of the Qing Feng was nowhere to be seen. There was only a young woman dressed in green clothes. She had a lithe figure and exquisite facial features. Between her eyebrows was a threatening noble temperament. In the center of her forehead was a feather crown pattern with a green flame burning on it. Brother Yi, nice to meet you. Yan Fengfeng, who had turned into her human form, revealed a smile. Sister Yan, nice to meet you. Yi Chen chuckled. In his human form, it was indeed the first time the two had met each other. Alright, you guys can go now. We can leave tomorrow. Xuanho said. Chapter 562. The sun rose in the east. It was already the morning of the second day. On top of a steep mountain on the west side of the mysterious mountain, 3 disciples of the mysterious martial school stood there. Right next to them was an iron feather mysterious eagle. Among the 3 disciples, 2 of them were people Yi Chen had met before. They were the head disciple Yan Fengfeng and the 3rd disciple Miao Yin. The last one was a male disciple with a face as white as jade. He looked to be only 22 or 23 years old, which was the youngest among the 3. As for his real age, it was hard to tell. Head disciple, who is this Yi Chen? Our master is paying so much attention to him, asking you to take him to the Sky Martial Pavilion personally. The male disciple with the white face was called Ling Tianhao, the 4th disciple of the mysterious martial school. His real age was already 27 years old. Of course, to be able to train to peak level early Sea of Soul's realm at 27 years old was already a talent that could not be underestimated even in the Sky Martial region. If it were in the 4 regions, he would be at least one of the top warriors among the young generation. Even in the mysterious martial school, he would be one of the top martial geniuses. Yan Fengfeng laughed, Brother Ling, do not underestimate him. He is the new rising young king warrior of the southern region. His power is definitely not that big of a deal. Young king warrior of the southern region. This does not seem to be that big of a deal, right? It was not that Ling Tianhao looked down on Yi Chen, but in his eyes, the young king warriors of the southern region indeed did not have anything to be proud of, especially in the Sky Martial region. He reached the Sea of Soul's realm at 24 years old. However, what Yan Fengfeng said next made Ling Tianhao's expression change drastically. Everyone knew that the leader of the mysterious martial school, who was also their master, Xianhou, had reached the Sea of Soul's realm at 25 years old. This record had been the first in 1,000 years, and no one had been able to break it for decades. Even the 2 top martial geniuses in the Sky Martial region who were said to be as powerful as their master had only reached the Sea of Soul's realm at 25 years old. They did not break their master's record. He could not imagine that there would be a martial genius in the southern region who was even more talented than their master. Impossible. Ling Tianhao's first reaction was to refuse. Yan Fengfeng sucked in a deep breath. When master told me this news, I didn't believe it either. But, master's words carry enormous weight. How could he lie? Hearing Yan Fengfeng telling him that it was her master, Ling Tianhao was still in shock and disbelief. After a long while, he let out a breath slowly. Impressive training talent. Perhaps it is only the training talent. Not necessarily. Yan Fengfeng looked at a black dot flying over. His speed has already reached master level. Whoosh! The black dot quickly enlarged. It was Yi Chen, dressed in blue with a long sword at his waist. Sorry for the wait. Cupping his fists, Yi Chen landed on the top of the mountain. We have just arrived as well. Let me introduce you. This is my 3rd sister disciple, Miao Yin, and this is my 4th brother, Ling Tianhao. Yan Fengfeng introduced. I already know senior sister Miao Yin, but this is my first time meeting senior brother Ling Tianhao. The 3 of them were all older than him, so it was not shameful for him to call them senior sisters and senior brothers. It is also my first time meeting Brother Yi. Please take care of me in the future. After knowing that Yi Chen's training talent was even more powerful than his master, Ling Tianhao did not look down on him anymore. Regardless, training talent was still a kind of talent, and it was the most direct way to reach a higher level. If the training talent was not good enough, then no matter how powerful the other talents were, it would be useless. Let's go. Miao Yin looked very calm, looking more like the head disciple than Yan Fengfeng. In the sky, the iron feather eagle carried the 4 and flew at an extremely fast speed, reaching 10 times the speed of sound, almost 15 times the speed of sound. The iron feather eagle was a rank 9 beast, and it was known for its speed. If it flew at full speed, it could reach 18 times the speed of sound, which was close to master-level warriors. But of course, traveling for a long time and traveling for a short time were obviously different. One could not just focus on speed, which would only waste time. After all, the iron feather eagle was not a flying puppet, it was made of flesh and blood after all. Judging from the efficiency of traveling for a long time, the iron feather eagle was just like Yi Chen's flying puppet. One was fast, while the other did not need to rest. The Sky Marshal Pavilion is located in the south of the Sky Marshal region, and is called the South Sky Gate. According to the rumors, the Sky Marshal Pavilion has some kind of connection with the Treasure Holy Tower as well. People above 40 would not be able to enter, and people who have not reached the Sea of Souls realm would not be able to enter either. In the middle of the Sky Marshal Pavilion, there is a magical name wall. You can leave 1,000 names on it, and each name can stay there for 10 years. On the back of the Iron Feather Eagle, Yan Fengfeng was explaining the information about the Sky Marshal Pavilion to Yi Chen. Do I have to go there to leave my name? Yi Chen asked. Yan Fengfeng chuckled, have you heard of this saying before? If you do not enter the South Sky Gate, it means that you have never been to the Sky Marshal region. The reason why the Sky Marshal region is called the sacred place for all the martial geniuses is because of the Sky Marshal Pavilion. Hearing her, Yi Chen smiled weirdly. So, only the young warriors who have reached the Sea of Souls realm would be considered to have been to the Sky Marshal region, and those who have not reached the Sea of Souls realm would be wasting their time. That Xie Zhiqiu was able to make a name for himself in the Sky Marshal region, so he was probably in the young generation. Yi Chen's guess was not wrong. Xie Zhiqiu had indeed only made a name for himself in the young generation of the Sky Marshal region. But when it was expanded to the entire young generation, it would not be worth mentioning at all. It must be really hard to leave one's name on the wall, right? Of course it is. Although the name wall is not really a ranking, it is still very useful as a reference. It includes all the top warriors within the last 10 years. Many of the famous martial geniuses from different regions would not even be able to make it into the top 1,000. Pausing for a second, Yan Fengfeng glanced at Miao Yin and Ling Tianhao and said, therefore, most of the martial geniuses would like to stabilize their power first. Only when they are unable to make it anymore would they go to the Sky Marshal Pavilion to leave their names there, so that it would not be too awkward for them to go there for the first time. Yi Chen thought about it and agreed with her. Reaching the Sea of Souls realm would be the weakest time for warriors of this level, so reaching the peak level of early Sea of Souls realm would be the most important thing. Once one reached the Sea of Souls realm, one's comprehensive ability would increase drastically, so it would be very important to increase one's mastery of profound sense martial arts as well. Right then, Ling Tianhao opened his mouth and said, the name wall is a place to judge one's potential. Being able to make it into the top 1,000 is already very hard, and it would be even harder to make it into the top 100. Once you make it in, the whole Sky Marshal region would know your name. As for the top 10, those would be the top martial geniuses. With Brother Ye's potential, it should not be a problem for you to make it into the top 100. Actually, Ling Tianhao still had some doubts about Yi Chen's potential. Being talented in training was indeed very important, but the other aspects were just as important. In the history of the True Spirit continent, there had been some martial geniuses who were talented in training but normal in other aspects. Yi Chen chuckled, but did not say anything. There was still a long way to go before they reached the Sky Marshal Pavilion. On the way, the four of them kept chatting. Yi Chen learned from Ling Tianhao that there were two disciples from the mysterious martial school who had made it into the top 1,000 on the wall. They were the head disciple, Yan Fengfeng, and the second disciple, Fu Yinhong. Yan Fengfeng's rank was ridiculously high, she was ranked 5th, while Fu Yinhong was a lot lower, ranked 57. Of course, it was a lot lower than Yan Fengfeng's, but in the whole True Spirit continent, it was undoubtedly a very high rank. After all, if one's name could stay on the wall for 10 years, then the names of the martial geniuses from 9 years ago would all be shown on it. The Iron Feather Eagle was indeed a rank 9 beast that was known for its speed. After 7 days, the four of them had managed to travel from the west side of the Sky Marshal region to the south side of the Sky Marshal region. On the afternoon of the 7th day, a mountain peak that reached into the sky gradually appeared in front of the four of them. It was a mountain peak that looked like a sharp sword. The peak seemed to have been shaved off by a sword, making it very flat. On top of the peak stood a magnificent building. On the door, there were 3 huge words written in a domineering style, Sky Marshal Pavilion. We are here. There are quite a lot of people there, and a couple of familiar faces. Yan Fengfeng's eyesight was extremely powerful. Even from dozens of miles away, she could still see the people there clearly. She could even tell the faces of the people there. Seeing the Sky Martial Pavilion, Ling Tianhao's breathing was a bit heavier than usual. Obviously, he was not feeling calm at all. Miao Yin, who had been calm all the way, could not help it either. A bit of fighting spirit shone out from deep in her eyes. Only Yan Fengfeng and Yi Chen did not have much change in their expressions. The former had been to the Sky Martial Pavilion once before, and this time, she had brought 3 people to leave their names there, which had nothing to do with her. The latter was attracted by the aura of the Sky Martial Pavilion. In Yi Chen's eyes, the mountain peak and the Sky Martial Pavilion were like a godly sword that could pierce through the sky. That aura was like a sword chi, piercing through the sky, which was extremely horrifying. Shoo! The iron feather eagle dove into the clouds, approaching the Sky Martial Pavilion quickly. Iron feather eagle. They are from the mysterious martial school. It should be Yan Fengfeng from the Phoenix Martial School who had brought her brother and sister disciples to leave their names there. At the foot of the mountain, someone had recognized the iron feather eagle and Yan Fengfeng. They did not fly directly to the pavilion, but instead, Yan Fengfeng ordered the eagle to land on a flat ground at the foot of the mountain. Yan Fengfeng, how have you been? A bald teenager with a powerful aura walked over with his brother and sister disciples. Yan Fengfeng laughed. Hai Wuya, did you bring your brother and sister disciples here to leave their names? Indeed. The bald teenager named Hai Wuya glanced at Yi Chen and the other 2. Your mysterious martial school already had 2 people who left their names on the wall. I did not expect that there would be 3 more this time. Hee, brother and sister disciples have worked hard. Yan Fengfeng maintained the smile on her face the whole time. Then, I will go first. There are so many people here. Hai Wuya led the group and left. This is Hai Wuya. Ling Tianhao stared at Hai Wuya's back. Yan Fengfeng said, yeah, he is extremely powerful, no weaker than me. He is ranked 10th on the wall. Oh, right, maybe you guys do not know much about the wall yet. It is a magical wall. Later on, you guys will only need to pour your soul power into it, and it will form an independent mental consciousness body in the mental world inside the wall. It will have 30% of your power, and your opponent will be a virtual mental consciousness body with the same power. Once you beat a virtual one, you will be able to enter the next level, where the virtual mental consciousness body experience will be doubled, and so on and so forth. Remember, do not try to show off. If the mental consciousness body is wounded, it will make you think that you are wounded subconsciously, which will affect your real body. The more wounded the mental consciousness body is, the more the real body will be affected. There have been cases of real bodies falling in the past. Chapter 563. Mental Consciousness Body. Yi Chen's eyebrows twitched. Most of the information that the Battle King had sent into his head was related to training, so Yi Chen knew what it was. To be more specific, the mental consciousness body was something that came out of a mother body with a soul. It did not have a consciousness, and it was similar to a mental projection. However, in terms of complexity, it was much more powerful, and the power it could carry would be way more powerful as well. Of course, the Battle King had not trained a mental consciousness body yet. Therefore, Yi Chen did not know much about it, but he had a general idea. Let's go up. Yan Fengfeng led the way up the mountain. The path leading to the top of the Sky Martial Pavilion was a 10,000 meters long and 100 meters wide staircase. After every 1,000 steps, there would be a spacious staircase. The second he stepped on the staircase, he finally realized why no one had flown up directly. The whole mountain was covered with a layer of invisible seal, and there was no way to use the air as a stepping stone. All he could do was walk up step by step. After a whole 15 minutes, the 4 finally got to the top from the foot of the mountain. So many people. Stepping through the gates of the Sky Martial Pavilion, The four of them were greeted by a spacious and magnificent plaza. In the middle of the plaza, there was a 100-foot-tall screen wall. Surrounding the screen wall were hundreds of young men and women who were younger than 40 years old. The pavilion only opens once a year, so it is normal for there to be a lot of people. Yan Fengfeng had already gotten used to it. The wall was very tall, and the four could see all the names on it at first glance. De Gaju, number 1. Dan Tai Mingyue, number 2. Yan Fengfeng, number 5. Indeed, Yan Fengfeng was ranked number 5. Being able to be ranked number 5 out of 1,000 names, her potential was already shocking enough. Yan Fengfeng explained, ranked number 1 and 2 are the top 2 martial geniuses of the Sky Martial region. They might not be the most powerful among the young generation, but they are definitely the most talented. Look at the color of the names. White means within the 3rd level, blue means to the 4th and 5th level, and red means to the 6th and 7th level. If one could make it through all 7 levels, then the color would be purple. So far, only De Gaju and Dan Tai Mingyue had made it through the 7th level, and their names would be purple. Hearing him, Yi Chen took a closer look at the wall. On the wall, there were 2 purple names, around 50 red names, and most of the blue ones. There were more than 800 blue ones, and the white ones had decreased drastically, only around 100, which was at the bottom of the list. If you want to leave your name on the wall, you would have to at least make it to the 3rd level. The longer you can last in the 3rd level, the higher the success rate would be. As she said that, Yan Fengfeng sighed. She was the descendant of the phoenix, and her potential was unparalleled. Normally, it would not be hard for her to be ranked number 1 or 2. But the 4 people in front of her were just too freaky, especially De Gaju and Dan Tai Mingyue, who had made it through all 7 levels directly. Head disciple, is it that hard? Ling Tianhao asked. Yan Fengfeng let out a breath and said, the 1st level is a virtual consciousness body with similar power as you. The 2nd level is 2, the 3rd level is 4, and the 4th level is 8. With each level, the number will double, and the difficulty will also double. Do you think it is hard? Then, the 7th level would have 64. Ling Tianhao gasped, and even Miao Yin and Yi Chen looked serious. Yan Fengfeng said with a low voice, the wall tests battling techniques, mental power, and potential after being pushed to the extreme. Although cultivation and power have some effect, it would be suppressed to a very small extent. After all, the virtual consciousness body inside has the same power as you. If you are more powerful, it would be more powerful as well. I wonder what rank I would be able to get. Before coming here, Ling Tianhao was full of confidence. But now, he was only left with pressure and battle intent. Yi Chen understood what Yan Fengfeng meant. The wall tested one's potential, and it had nothing to do with cultivation or power. But of course, just like what Yan Fengfeng had said, although the latter two had been suppressed a lot, they still had some effect. For example, if one's power was higher, they would be able to sense more things, and their battling styles would be more unpredictable, which would increase their potential. Yi Chen, you are here as well. Right then, someone yelled out Yi Chen's name. Yi Chen turned around and saw the Thunder Princess Jing Aoshuan and the Edict Prince Li Xiaoyan. The two had both reached the Sea of Souls realm, just like him, at peak level early Sea of Souls realm. A smile appeared on his face as Yi Chen said, "What a coincidence." Li Xiaoyan said, "It is not a coincidence at all." Yi Chen chuckled. Li Xiaoyan was right, it was not a coincidence at all. The two reaching the Sea of Souls realm did not surprise him too much, since they had reached the peak level late astral reaching realm before him. They could make the breakthrough at any time. Plus, the Sky Martial Pavilion only opened once a year, so it would not be a coincidence at all to run into them here. Where is Chu Zhongtian? The relationship between Yi Chen and Chu Zhongtian was just normal. In the beginning, there was still some conflict between them, but it had gotten better after a while. Now, it was just a competition between two people at the same level. Jing Aoshuan shook her head. He has the evil spirit body, so it would be extremely hard for him to make the breakthrough. Right now, he is still at the peak level late astral reaching realm. That is true. Yi Chen nodded. The evil spirit body trained the evil Yuan, which was a couple of times more powerful than the Jin Yuan. It would be extremely hard for him to make the breakthrough. But of course, once he made the breakthrough, his power would increase drastically as well. At the astral reaching realm, he would be extremely powerful, and once he reached the Sea of Souls realm, he would only be even more powerful. In other words, Chu Zhongtian was born with good luck, and he would only get more and more powerful. Perhaps once he reached the Sea of Souls realm, Jing Aoshuan and Li Xiaoyun would not be able to compete with him anymore, unless they had some kind of great luck. This wall of fame is also a battlefield, a soundless battlefield. Li Xiaoyun suddenly sighed as he stared at the name on the wall in a daze. Yi Chen was not familiar with these people's names, but Li Xiaoyun was very familiar with them. He saw the names of the top warriors of the young generation in the southern regions. Some of them were the hosts of the previous tea gatherings, but their rankings were very low, below 500. Only one of them could make it into the top 100. The wall could test 10 people at a time, and there was no time limit. Of course, although it was said to be unlimited, it was actually very limited. If one spent too much time in the beginning, their spirit, qi, and soul would not be able to keep up, which would shorten the time. This time, I finally made it into the top 1000. An ordinary-looking teenager saw his name at the end of the wall after finishing his test, and his face was full of excitement. Everyone's attention was drawn over. Yi Chen frowned. He saw two familiar people. They were the East Demon Xie Zhiqiu and One Blade Ling Luohan, who had caused a huge commotion in the tea gathering. These two had also entered the Sea of Souls realm. Leaving an empty spot, One Blade Ling Luohan walked up and began his test. After the time it took to drink a cup of tea, Ling Luohan opened his eyes. At the same time, the last 100 names on the wall moved back one by one, and Ling Luohan's name appeared at the 99th place. I have to say that Ling Luohan's potential is very high. Jing Aoshuan had lost to Ling Luohan before. Although Li Xiaoyun did not lose to Ling Luohan, he had to admit that he was not Ling Luohan's opponent in the tea gathering. As for now, he did not have the confidence to win for sure, but he did not think that he would lose for sure either. He has gone down the wrong path of the blade art. Wanting to correct it in a short period of time would be very hard. In Yi Chen's eyes, Ling Luohan's potential would not be that much weaker than Xie Zhiqiu's, and could even be on the same level. Unfortunately, in order to pursue the efficiency of his blade art, he had gone down the wrong path of killing with one blade attack. It was indeed an evil path that could increase his power quickly, but it would also leave behind a lot of problems, which would slow down his progress in the future. The East Demon Xie Zhiqiu has started his test. A skinny teenager said, the East Demon Xie Zhiqiu is quite famous among the young generation of the Sky Martial region. After reaching the Sea of Souls realm, he already has the power to compete with most of the top young warriors. I wonder what his rank would be. It should be very high. Du Guju and Dantai Mingyue had reached the Sea of Souls realm last year. They were the top of the young generation back then. Although their power would not be able to reach the top of the young generation, their potential would be unbeatable. Potential and power were two different things. A high potential did not mean that one's current power was high, and a high power did not mean that one's potential was high. The former would still need some time to increase their power, while the latter would have enough time. But the potential was obviously not there, and the former would eventually catch up. Kill. In that quiet world, Xie Zhiqiu had passed 3 levels in a row and made it to the 4th level. There were 8 mental consciousness bodies in the 4th level, and each of them had the same power as him. The good thing was that the 8 of them did not have perfect teamwork. In fact, if they did, then there would be no way for him to fight. Even Du Guju and Dantai Mingyue would not be able to make it. In the 5th level, Xie Zhiqiu was wounded a little, and his real body outside of the wall let out a groan. In the 6th level, Xie Zhiqiu was killed within a second. So powerful. The real body opened its eyes, and Xie Zhiqiu could feel that he had just suffered an internal injury that he had subconsciously caused. Looking up at the ranking on the wall, a smile appeared on Xie Zhiqiu's face. Xie Zhiqiu, number 22. In the past, although he had some fame in the Sky Martial region, it was only among the younger generation. He had not risen to the top of the younger generation. Although his current strength could not compete with the other famous youths, in terms of aptitude, he was ranked 22nd in the past 10 years. This was a very high ranking, and he was very satisfied with it. Wow! He is actually ranked 22. Scary. Among all the people who participated this year, Xie Zhiqiu's potential could be ranked at least in the top 3. Some of the people around gasped. The higher the ranking, the more difficult it would be. At the same time, it also meant that he would be more powerful in battling above his realm. The East Demon Xie Zhiqiu was indeed worthy of the title. Interesting. Hai Wuya and Yan Fengfeng nodded secretly. Although Xie Zhiqiu's potential was not as good as theirs, it was only a reference. His future achievements might not be worse than theirs. Hee. Xie Zhiqiu turned his head to look at Yi Chen and the rest. When his eyes met Yi Chen's, a cold light shone out of his eyes, as if he wanted to battle. You're tuning into the Passion Page's YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.